Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on tonight. We
Yeah,
appreciate you.
doing well.
Absolutely.
Can't complain.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we was definitely excited to host you. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brian. And if you guys want to get a fresh hat like this one right here, you can catch that from our friends at Barely Tamed, Southern California. Their website is BARELYTAMED.com.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, JJ. So you have a job that a lot of people envy at a company. A lot of people want to work at Respawn Entertainment. They made some of the biggest games in gaming. So yeah, tell us
Yep.
a little bit about yourself and how you got to work at Respawn Entertainment.
Yeah, so I can't claim it all myself. I got to start with the beginning, which was I had a really great teacher back in high school who
Okay.
he as a kid always grew up playing a lot of games, Call of Duty, Minecraft, Skyrim, like that. I was way too many hours. My parents did not always love that, but in high school I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. But
Oh,
I took
wow.
a computer science intro to programming course, and I just had a teacher who he taught that by having us make video games. I was like, wait, I can actually learn to make the things that I'm having like fun playing, using all my free time for. And it's very quickly grew into a passion for just making games, coding, which I pursued through college and ended up going towards an internship. Mentioned it to you guys or a bit earlier, but like in my junior year of college, I applied to I think it's about 150 different internships. Heard back from I technically heard back from two, but I got a full interview at one, which was with Respawn, and it was just
Wow.
everything I could hear about the team just sounded really exciting. And turns
Well,
out it was.
that must have been really exciting
Yeah, no,
because you were
I'm
young,
very
right?
thankful for that.
You
Yeah,
were pretty
yeah.
young.
I was 21 at that time, actually. So
Wow. I mean, that's like every little kid's dream. They turn 21 and they're working at Respawn or Microsoft or wherever.
yeah, no, it's been awesome because I was a fan of Apex a little bit beforehand. I was very much my BR area between. Are you familiar with battle royales? Just as a general idea. Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Are you familiar with battle royales?
Yeah, yeah,
The game
yeah,
concept. Yeah.
yeah.
So I was very much in the BR era, trying to like play a lot of Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, and Apex. So it's pretty sick getting a job working on Apex.
Nice.
Oh, awesome. So, like, a lot of people they may get internships at a company, but they don't necessarily get hired after. So, why do you think Respawn decided to bring you on full time?
Mm, that's a very good question. Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to. So I was doing a computer science degree at the time, and the way Respawn works is the designers are not just like sitting there writing down ideas on paper. They're actually or we are actually in the engine, implementing things, trying to like test out the prototypes, or run them in play tests ourselves, and like run that whole process. And so I think my technical experience was a really big benefit. I was able to jump in. I was my internship project was a limited time mode for a game mode called Arenas, where we did like a special takeover with a cool upgraded weapons and kind of changing the strategy around for a little bit. And it was supposed to take the whole summer, but because of my technical experience, I was able to get it done uh, probably about half to three quarters of the summer. So I think that was able to kind of show off my
Oh,
skills in the
nice.
design space. And I think, and I'd have to ask them, I think that's what got me the invite back.
That's amazing.
So I know, like, when people typically think of designers, they don't necessarily think of the most like technically acute people. They
Mm.
think, I guess, more the creative idea person who's putting all these ideas on paper and then they hand it over to a programmer to implement. So do you feel like you mentioned, your technical skills gave you like a step above, the typical quote
Mhm.
unquote designer because you can actually implement and showcase prototypes of your idea versus just putting it on paper.
I'd certainly say so. I mean, I think this is kind of the industry's been progressing. With all the AI stuff, that may be changing, but I'd say over the past 10 years, it's definitely seemed like having some sort of technical, just like basic scripting ability, is a real benefit to you in the game design space. I wasn't there, but my understanding is in the past, it was really just a lot of like that creativity. Like that was the most important part. You want to be like a really good creative person, and we still
Right.
want that. Like that's by all means, like that's extremely important. But it's just the last 10 years has been an increase in like having some sort of technical knowledge is setting you apart. Like looking at all the like any openings in the industry, almost all of them now are going to say uh, Unreal Engine 5 experience, Unity experience, scripting experience. Like they want you to have some technical
Wow.
background. So I think that's just been kind of where things have been moving recently.
So you kind of just lucked into, you had the skills, they saw that, they identified that within you, and they brought you on.
As best I can tell, yes, yeah.
So,
Awesome.
sometimes you hear that notion like you should never meet your heroes because you end up getting disappointed. But it sounds like this was quite the opposite. This is one of the companies you wanted to work for. It actually seemed like it was a great place to work at. So, like, what makes Respawn
Mhm.
like a great place to work?
Yeah. So it, anyone that like hears things about the video game industry, like what it's like to work as a game designer, the first thing they hear about is the grind, like how much you have to like actually do to build games, like all the overtime, the crazy hours. Um, at Respawn, maybe sometimes, but like for the most part, it's a pretty good work life balance. So that's something I really enjoy. Um, I mean, there's the weird aspect where I'm in Central Time, they're in Pacific Time, so I like got to work slightly different hours remotely. But it's just the they just have a really good understanding of like you're game designers, but that's your profession. It's not who you are as a person. They want to make sure you have plenty of time to just enjoy your life. So
Wow.
I definitely appreciate that aspect, and I'd be remiss if I also didn't mention that the people working there are phenomenal.
Would you say in the game industry that's kind of a rare setup that you have, that
Hmm.
a lot of other places there is that grind culture where you're expected to do all this overtime?
That's a good question. Respawn's the only place I've actually worked, so I can't fully answer that. I haven't experienced anything else. What
Okay.
I've heard anecdotally from other people, it's not uncommon, but it's certainly not the only way it's done. There is still a lot of that at specific companies. Uh, Much grindier workday.
Okay.
I
So
think all of
being
them are trying to like kind of cut down on that, but it's not fully happened at this point.
So being that you're a gameplay designer, when we were all like young playing games as a kid, we had all these ideas of what we were gonna do, or what ideas we want to implement into a game. So like, how many of those big ideas that you had prior to working at the company were you able to actually implement?
That's a really good question, man. Not as many as younger me would have liked, right? Uh,
Right, right.
it's this interesting process of you pitch an idea, and in the best way possible, you hear all the reasons why it won't work. Like it sounds demoralizing. It's really not. Like part of the process is like taking that feedback to come up with even better ideas. So while I might say a lot of the ideas I had beforehand haven't been implemented, the ideas that those have grown into are, and so that's something I think is really cool. Just being able to like grow your craft and your creativity,
Right.
to, like actually get ideas into the game.
Can you kind of walk us through like the day-to-day ongoings of like what exactly are you doing as a gameplay designer? How are you collaborating with your teammates? Like what is your exact tangible role when it comes to creating a game?
Yeah. So I've worked in kind of two different roles at Respawn. One was on the what we call the BR systems team. That's the people who are building like all the various things around the BR, the weapons, how the ring moves, the drops, like all this cool stuff that like makes the game Apex.
Right.
Um, and then the team I'm on right now is the player investment team, working on like the progression side of things, bots, ranked, like all the fancy words that you often see on Reddit. Um, it's a really good process. On the systems team, it was a lot more. Let's see, um, very implementation focused. We'd have ideas, play test it, or we would script it out, get into play tests, get a lot of feedback, um, and iterate based off of that. And one consequence is you spend a lot more time iterating because your initial ideas off not always, but sometimes less thoroughly designed. Whereas right now I'm on the player investment team. We spend a lot of time like really documenting things, trying to like think through every aspect and consequence of a change. So it's a very thorough team, which is a nice aspect to it. And then we go in and build stuff. To jump towards more of your question, there's a very big interaction between designers and everyone else in the team. Making a game is a giant process. Like you can't do it alone. And like every feature you work on, you'll have like art, UX, UI, hard surface if you have anyone like making models, VFX, audio, like it's like QV. It's crazy like how deep it goes with having people specialize in every aspect of the process. And something that I like about design is you get to be in the room with everyone. You'll have meetings with
Nice.
one person on art and like kind of like get there, understand, take their ideas, kind of come up with a cool vision for the art side, then move over to audio. Like how should this sound? Like how can we like really have like a good oomph to like this
So,
moment?
would you say that some of your job is you're acting as a game producer?
Somewhat. I think a good designer does take that on a little bit. We do have game producers, so like they're the
Okay.
ones that are like they're the real game producers. They have the hard work of making sure we're hitting timelines, like understanding what can fit in. They have to tell me, hey JJ, we don't have time for that. That's not going to make it in. They're the ones that make those decisions, and I don't envy them for that. It's tough.
Tough
Um,
job. Yeah, I bet.
yeah. But I think a good game designer is able to like over time kind of like start understanding those things and hopefully working closely with production to uh, be very reasonable.
So you kind of mentioned you're working on like the progression system, like leveling up and so on and so forth. And I know that that's what really can add a lot of playability to a game. So like, how are you like? What are some of the actual concerns that you have to keep in mind to make sure that this is a level up system that works in the game that you're implementing it in?
Yeah. So this is an area where I gotta give the HR preface of I'm not representing the Apex team right now. Just very personal. So I'll give my personal input and my personal thoughts, not how the Apex team does things. Um, but I think as you're looking at a progression system in any game, as you said, the replayability is extremely important. Like you got to have milestones, things that players want to work for, but it's also got to be approachable. People need to be able to like jump in. Like you're gonna let's take a competitive game like Valorant. You have some really high level, like really strong, good players at the game. Your new player is not going to be that. You need a way to get them from point A to point B. I think that's a really big challenge in the competitive game industry that, um, yeah, that basically everyone's facing. It's it's de- very tough, I'd say.
It's like you're trying to level the players up in a way that's satisfactory to the player.
Yeah, but like both making it learnable, making it fun, exciting. Because over time, you want this new player to ideally like quickly see, oh, there's some fun stuff in this game. Like that's the first few matches. Like it's got to be fun and exciting for them. Some of that means let's see what's a good game. PUBG does a great job of this. Your first few matches are you're playing against bots. It's not real human players, so you do a little bit better. You can just like, oh hey, I got a few kills here. It was exciting. Maybe I didn't win, but it was a cool time. Um,
Right, right.
and so like you gotta like hook them, like make it fun, make it cool, and also make them see that like there is a way to get good at this game. That's where it kind of comes in. Like after the first few matches, you're starting to see, oh, I'm learning these new systems. How do I progress as a player? I want to improve my skill, get better. So I think a good progression system is both giving you like cool rewards, but also giving you like hopefully teaching you how to improve your skill along the way.
Okay.
So yeah, I think one of the critical issues, especially most competitive games, especially first person shooters, is you have these guys who are really good, then you have these newbies, and the guys are really good. If you just match them up
Yeah,
against the
man.
newbies, they're gonna shred them, and it's not gonna be
Destroy them.
fun. So like I know like certain games they take the approach of matching skill sets amongst each other, like new guys versus new guys, or sometimes they even boost the newer players to give them a little more health. Like how do you think what do you think is like a fair system to make it fun for all players, so
Yeah,
neither side is getting dissatisfied?
yeah. I mean, that's like one of the most challenging questions in video games, I'd say. You've seen, or I don't know how many first-person shooters or just competitive shooters you play in general, but like uh, almost everything's been tried from like MMR matchmaking, no matchmaking, engagement-based matchmaking. Like there's a lot of these big matchmaking terms in terms of like how to put people together. It's a really tough problem. Um, I actually think multiple solutions can work. You just have to really tune the systems around those. So let's take a
Like, what if we were to take Call of Duty as an example here?
yeah. I'm actually not. I know they use some sort of skill-based matchmaking. Um, I think in general, skill-based matchmaking is effective. It makes things more fair. Doesn't always
Right.
hit on the fun, but hits on the most fair situations. Where people are roughly around my same skill. One match you might do really well, the next match not so much. But you're not having the situation where a low skill player is always getting dogged on. Um,
And I
I
feel
think that's
like
very
that's how it
important.
used to be, when I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
back
the
to
old days
like
of Call of Duty, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
just like, you join the game and you just get headshot, headshot, headshot. You're like, what
trial by fire, really. Like,
trial by fire. Yeah.
yeah, no, that definitely is how it was in the past, and in some ways, I look back on that longing, like, oh man, I missed that. But the part I'm missing was when I was on the top end, not
That's
when I
right.
was on the bottom end.
Yeah.
Like my brain's fully like ignored the bad moments. It's like, oh, at the very end of my Modern Warfare 2 career, I was a good player, so I was enjoying it. But the start was certainly tough, and so I think that's something that actually having some sort of skill based matchmaking does help with. It's much easier to onboard players and like have this progression and skill. Um,
Yeah, because I feel like with Modern Warfare, like a lot of people who are new to the game could easily get, just not very encouraging feelings, let's say. In terms of them jumping
yeah,
into a match, it might kind of want to make them like playing career mode instead of playing in multiplayer because they're just going to get shredded.
yeah, no, absolutely. Um, that is in some ways, a fun part to it is when you have matches where like you can be the best player. Like it's a cool moment when you go around and you're destroying. Like you're like, man, I did so good. That's great for the one individual. And it's like everyone else, not so much. It's like
Not so much.
there are ways where you can give everyone the opportunity to be that one or two strong players, but it's a lot harder than just making it fair for everyone. Um, in my understanding, just looking at you know what any game announces, that they always say that based matchmaking increases retention and like the amount of players like actually play the game. I think a lot of that's just because when it's fair, it's more fun. Like you're actually like facing a challenge. Um,
Versus like, thinking back years, something like Unreal Tournament
mm,
or Quake 3 Arena. If you were new coming into that, you would just get lit up. You would get destroyed.
yeah, yeah, no, that's absolutely it. Like I'd even say, like there's a level like where it is fun to destroy everyone. But when you're always doing it, it gets a little bit more boring. It's like, man, I want a challenge.
Too
Like
too
the
easy.
best games are where it's like
Yeah.
you have to really fight for that win.
So I know like a lot of the more modern games, they have a lot more like hand holding systems, like a lot of tutorials, a lot of checkpoints, the difficulties on a lot of them have been dialed back. But there's a
Mhm.
couple of games that have like a good amount of difficulty. Let's just say Dark Souls. And it
Yeah,
seems like
that's what I was thinking.
exactly gamers are actually a lot of gamers actually like difficulty without the hand holding.
Mhm. I absolutely agree. I think it's like you got to know who your audience is. Like
Yeah.
Dark Souls, I think it's one of the best games that they've identified their audience and they don't compromise anything for them. They go all they know the players want something hardcore. They want an adventure, like some like hard to find stories. It's like a really like deep on that. Whereas I don't know. Let's take God of War. I think that was criticized by some players for having like more tutorials and like handholdy systems.
Right.
Um, but it's meant to be a more approachable game. Like it's that the focus is the story, not the difficulty of combat. There's like, you can make the combat more difficult by changing the level, but it's meant to be something that everyone can pick up. Whereas that's simply not what Dark Souls 3 was. Um, Elden Ring has moved a bit towards being approachable, but not by changing the difficulty. Are you guys familiar with the Elden Ring?
Yep. I played it.
Yeah, love that game. I think they did a really good job of kind of addressing the point that the Dark Souls franchise has had of like this is too tough. Like you have to be a skilled gamer to get in, uh,
Right.
without compromising their core values of like this is a tough game. So what they did is they allowed you to instead of like having to beat your head against the wall, try and like beat the same boss over and over. It's an open world, so you can just go somewhere else, try something easier,
Mhm.
and get better gear.
Yeah.
So I'll
That's
admit, like, I'm
kind of
not the best,
like that's kind of like Borderlands or Borderlands 2, where
Mhm.
you kind of go into one area. Okay, that's a bit too hard. Let me go find a totally different area.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you a big Borderlands player?
Borderlands 2. Yeah.
Nice. That's that's one I actually still need to
I
play.
love the
Embarrassingly
weapons.
enough.
I love how you could just pick up these crazy guns that you've
Yeah,
never seen. It's like, then it becomes your new favorite.
that's what I've heard. It's like on the endless list of games I need to play, which is crazy because it's like one of the best games of all time, according to
It's so
if
good.
you ask most indie gamer. So I'm excited to pick that one up soon.
Or what about like Assassin's Creed? You get into that at
Yeah,
all?
I did a little bit of Black Flag back in the day, with the pirate ships and everything. So excited for the remake of that actually.
Mhm. So like Dark Souls, that's one of the games that's considered to have like a fair difficulty. Like it's difficult, but you don't feel like the game is cheating you. So like
Mhm.
why do you think difficulty works for Dark Souls, whereas it might not work for another game? Like the game just feels cheap, like the AI or is cheating.
Yeah, no, that's a really astute question. I think part of what works with Dark Souls is that it's extremely learnable. Um, if you have a game where the the guy, the enemy's always locking onto you, there's nothing you can do to avoid their attack, like, and it's just always gonna hit you. Like that's nothing to learn there. There's nothing to improve, and players love to get better. Um, so I think that's something nice about Dark Souls is like you can learn their attacks, like their move set, and doing that, you're like you can physically see yourself improving death over death. And so I really like that aspect. I think that's probably what would make Dark Souls different from a game where the bot is cheating.
Right.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like certain older games like the SNK fighting games. I don't know if you're familiar with those. Like the last
Not
boss.
deeply.
Okay, yeah, the last
I would
boss
love to
would
hear
be
about it. Yeah.
so difficult that you would have to cheese them to win. Like you have to kind of cheat to win. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think like you mentioned, if the enemies are learnable, if you can identify the pattern and like, oh, okay, so I need to do this instead. Like you can utilize a mechanic to counter what they're doing, then that's when difficulty becomes fun versus frustrating.
Yeah, and you actually hit on something there that's interesting. It's like you can learn other mechanics to like make the combat easier.
Right.
Like Elden Ring does this a lot, where like there's so many items you can use to like buff your whatever type of damage, negate certain type of damage, like ranged throwable one-off items. Like there's a lot that you can do to just bring in crazy unique strategies. Do you guys watch many Elden Ring speedruns?
I haven't
No.
watched too many. Mm-mm.
So it's just this fine process of always trying to optimize a few seconds. Um, And most of them have kind of come down to is trying to unload the boss from the game, where they'll find a way to jump off or move far enough away that the boss gets unloaded and thus immediately dies. Um, it's a weird system, and just all the
Interesting.
kind of glitches that you can bring in. But I think that's just something fun with any game, is just players being able to find these little exploits to make the game their own.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how talented some of these guys are. Like they're like literally making glitches happen in the code or whatever that allows them to do things that, it's not just them playing within the game mechanics. They're kind of like
Yeah,
breaking the game to really get these times.
yeah. I,
I
I think
watched
that's what I love with all these games. It's just exactly so making it your own. It's really fun.
exactly. So like I know like Brian, you're a fan of like A Link to the Past, and that's one of the games that
Big time.
excels at
Yeah.
giving you new mechanics, new weapons, new items, and it turns, it makes the world into something new. Like you get this new power and you can reach an area you couldn't before. Like, have you ever had to implement that kind of gameplay system?
Hmm. Could you dig deeper into like what you mean by
Sure. Okay. So let's say you're exploring the world and there's this like giant boulder in place,
mhm.
and you go in a cave, you find a bomb, and now you can go back and blow that boulder up, or um
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or you
Like
get like super gloves to where you can now all of a sudden lift that boulder and toss it away.
yeah. Um, Not so much on Apex, as we don't have much of this like kind of quest based progression, at least in the match. Um, but I do a lot of D&D on the side, like the DMing, coming up with storylines there. Um, and in one of the uh, recent one shots I ran, I was deeply inspired by Hollow Knight, if you're familiar with that, and just the
yeah.
Metroidvania genre, which is,
Mhm.
there's a lot of what you're describing there. Like you explore deeper, you find new items or abilities, and that unlocks completely new paths in areas you've already been. And so an example of this, very, very simple, was like the players had to explore this castle. They found a lever that had actually unlocked a door back at the beginning, or they found a um, ring that lets them kind of like use mirrors as a way to like transport to a different area in this world. Um, that's a very non professional gaming example. That's just something from my own time.
And then you got stuff like Fallout
Mm.
2. You familiar with that at all?
Yeah, I did a little bit of Fallout 4. I didn't do the original Fallouts, unfortunately.
Okay.
Oh yeah, to me those were some of the best ones, 1 and 2. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
really in depth.
whenever I
In
look at
depth.
like the
Yeah, in
feedback, people
depth
are like
is a good
Fallout 1
word.
and 2 are just so good. What do you guys like most about them?
I'll go ahead, Brian. You want to go
Oh, I was
first?
just gonna say, the open world. It's just this massive world you can investigate, kind of like Kev said, like Link to the Past. Like,
Mhm.
it's open world. You can go anywhere, and you can maybe see, oh, okay, this is the final boss, but I can't get to him because I have to jump over this gate, and I don't have the ability to jump. And so then you find yourself doing all these other quests to then eventually get that ability. Okay, now I could jump the gate, and now I could fight the final boss.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I think old school PC games, kind of like Brian mentioned, there's a lot of progression, but they treated you like an adult, like especially the older
Mhm.
Fallout titles. Like you could choose to recruit this player, or you could choose not to, or depending on what you say to this person, they'll fight you, or you can talk your way out of a fight. Like um,
Yeah.
I really liked how like those older games, they really treated you like, you're an adult, you're intelligent, and they gave you a lot more choice. That's what I liked about Fallout 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's like so many more paths where like for like how the story could end up, like
Right.
that sort of deal. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's really cool, like when you have a character and you can customize a character in meaningful ways. Like your experience is completely different. Like, okay, I'm gonna invest in hacking so I can, control this terminal, or I'm gonna be more of a brute force player, or more charismatic. I think that just being able to make the character your own and handle the world in different ways and still complete the game That's difficult to do, but it makes it really satisfying.
I think in
Yeah.
the same way you look at a game like some of the Call of Duties where there's a massive amount of customization for the guns, for the armor, for the bombs. You know, you can make all these changes and you can really set your player up to be a certain way, you know,
Mhm.
and it'll be unique to you because you're using this and you're using that and you're using this and you're putting it all together to create kind of this complete package.
Yeah. I think that customization is a really good aspect of, or something that just draws a lot of players being able to play the game exactly the way that they want to. Just whenever someone sees a game, like they see the trailer, they think about how they're going to be playing that game, not how the developer wants them to play it. And so it's the developer's job to give the players the option to play the way they want to. And kind of like talking about the old faults as you're mentioning, just having all that depth of opportunity and like the ways you can like handle a dialogue or handle your build. Uh, that's always something that really resonates with people.
I know, like one of the challenges of customization is like you don't want there to be certain builds that are so overpowered that
Oh yeah,
everybody's using that single build. So, like, how do you avoid making these overpowered builds, but also how do you avoid making customizations so in depth that people are discouraged because there's just too much going on?
yeah. That's another really tough problem in the game industry because
Right.
even amazing games like Skyrim is one of my favorite all-time games. Uh, there's a joke in the community that everyone ends up as a stealth archer because it's just the best build. Um, like you start as a mage and suddenly I have a bow in my hand 10 levels later. Um, and it's some games actually solve this differently. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, if you're familiar with that game from
Yeah.
last year, uh, they just decided we don't care. Players are going to find some optimal builds and do some crazy stuff. Do like they're going to break the game as we built it. So some games will actually just fully lean into that, allowing you to like really min max just how effective your build is going to be, and that's something that players actually like to do. So you don't always need to solve the problem. But in other games, like especially competitive ones, there is a level where you need to keep things fair, so that you don't have everyone running the exact same weapon, for example. So that gets really stale when everyone's doing the exact same thing. So
I mean, that brings me
it's a
back to
tough problem.
like that brings me back to like Doom or Duke Nukem 3D. You
Yeah.
know, everyone just wants to get that I don't know what it's called, but it's like a vaporizer, it just like vaporizes everything.
Well, it's the ray gun in Call of Duty Zombies. It's for the longest time. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. You meant like you mentioned that sometimes the problem doesn't need to be solved, and I do agree because sometimes when people balance these customization systems, like every time you make a change, it has a huge downside in somewhere else. So it's almost like it's not really fun because you're not really getting ahead. You're just trading, having these trade offs. I think in
Mhm.
single player games, it's okay to let people have these overpowered builds.
Yeah. Yeah. It's much easier to do that in the single player games, and I think a lot of games actually do like intentionally do that. Like I mentioned Expedition 33, but I think Cyberpunk is another good example of where just you can just really scale over time and start doing some crazy stuff. But yeah, and the multiplayer games, there has to be a level of general fairness so that
Yeah.
it's not just this one person's unlocked this weapon, I didn't get it, and they're just going to beat me every time because of that. Like that sucks. No one wants to play that game. Um, Now you can have like these if you can convince players that like they earned this somehow, like oh they completed this challenge mid match and so they've now got a big power up. Yeah, it's okay if they're the juggernaut now, but
Yeah.
it's got to be
It makes me think
intentional.
it makes me think back to the newest Mortal Kombat that came
Mm.
out on I think Xbox One, and you would unlock certain character like you could unlock Goro, and then when you pick Goro, there's these two moves. One is the jump and then smash move. And then the other one, you know, he has all these arms. So he's just like, back and forth, and you can just cheese on that. You can just do that over and over and over, and the other player basically has no recourse. They can't do anything.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean, fighting games. I've only ever played a lot of Smash Ultimate, but the fighting games are really, I think, interesting to design just because you have to account for all these interactions. Like every individual move has to uh, ideally have some sort of counter from other players. Like you can't just have this one player with like, I haven't played the new games. So I don't know if Goro's arms are just going crazy and no one can beat him. But I imagine there's some way to not immediately die to someone playing Goro.
Yeah, all I know is that my friend, I saw him playing it a lot. One of my old roommates, and I was like, "All right, let's play it together," because I had unlocked Goro, and I would just pick Goro and just smash the hell out of him. And he's sitting there getting all pissed, like, "Oh man, like this guy's just cheating." I'm like, this is what Goro does. This is his move,
Yeah, it's very fun just having options that are like. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing. Having options that are accessible but like successful. Like in Smash, for example, a lot of the people that have projectiles, you can just spam them, and as not great players, absolutely can get around it, but other like semi-new to moderate players, they're just going to get hit by those projectiles every time, and so you as a brand new player, you can feel successful. Like I'm actually doing well, and that's I think a good moment in these type of games.
So like just to pivot a little bit, if you were, let's just say your company gave you free pass and whatever idea you want to bring, they said go for it. Like if they said we want you to merge two genres, let's just say first person shooter, and you get to pick the other genre, what genre would you bring into that first person shooter genre, and like what ideas would you bring over?
Yeah, that's a cool one. I think that so Apex is in the Titanfall universe, which has a lot of like deep story around it. I think it could be really interesting to sort of like bring it into a survival game sort of
Mm.
setting. Uh, I'm not thinking like full zombie survival or anything like that, but maybe you're stranded on a remote world in the Outlands, and you have to figure out how to survive by using the resources around you. You can have like lots of like really fast creatures that are attacking you, so you have to use like all the good movement that the Apex and Titanfall universe has, like running on walls or just
Mm.
some of the modern things like tap strafing and whatnot. Um, and I think that could be like a really interesting fast-paced survival game.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it's I mean, part of me is saying that because I grew up with probably like 10 to 20,000 hours in Minecraft, but
Oh wow.
that's another story.
Do you think that, game like I was mentioning earlier, stuff like Unreal Tournament, Quake 3 Arena, do you feel like that's ever going to see the light of day again? Do you think they're ever going to make a newer game that kind of has those same game mechanics?
In terms of game mechanics, do you mean like where you are looking, it's just right where your rifle goes, like the sort of the movement systems? Like, what are you referring to there?
Yeah, more some movement systems.
Hmm. I mean, in some ways, I like to think that Apex and Titanfall are like evolutions of that, because I mean they do derive from this old Quake systems. Like I think Quake's one of the OG games on the Source engine, which a lot of our stuff derives from in some sense. But yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I suppose Epic
Because I mean, those
absolutely
used
has
to
the
be
option to
so
make some more ones.
they used to be so popular, and
Hmm.
now I feel like I remember I tried to go back into I think I had Quake 3 Arena on, like, I downloaded it on Xbox 360, and I would go into a lobby and there'd be no one there. And I was just thinking, like, really?
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
one in the world that's playing this game right now. So it's kind of a bummer. But yeah, I've always thought, I wonder if they're ever gonna like bring back Quake Arena and do like a
Mhm.
reboot of it.
I mean, ultimately, I think the game industry is fairly new in terms of entertainment. Like, obviously, you have games going back to like what the 60s in terms of like the video game content, but that's only it's only a 60 to 70 years. So I could definitely see some cycles coming in at some point where like old versions of games become more popular again. You see this a lot with Call of Duty for like, oh, we're going back to the old Call of Duty, the way it used to be, kind of like away from just some of the more modern Call of Duty systems. So I'm already seeing some cycles there, and I could imagine the games like Quake coming back at some point as well. It's just I think players always like novelty, something new, and trying like the next big thing. So in my mind, it makes sense that people are like jumping from one sort of genre to the next. But then eventually, the old stuff has become far enough away from people's minds that I could see it coming back.
Yeah.
So like for me, one of the iconic gaming ideas is kind of like of the safe space. So like Resident Evil, you have the safe room and it kind of releases all of the tension, and you
Mhm.
have it in Dark Souls, the bonfire.
Absolutely.
What are some of the iconic like gaming ideas, gaming concepts that with through your history of playing games? What are some of the more memorable ones that you've experienced, and which ones can you see yourself
Mhm.
actually bringing into some of the games that you either are working on or will be working on in the future?
Yeah, so I'm all about PvP mechanics, and just the different ways that kind of works. The most popular of those, I mean, you have fighting games, but it's shooters generally, um, and so I've always really liked like just weapon mechanics and the kind of progression and making the gun in your hand feel like it's something like strong, deadly. They have to control it. Um, a lot of more modern games like where we have like lots of recoil that you have to control. You can't always predict exactly where the bullet's going to go. I think that's just a really strong system that's the industry's developed in terms of uh, making it feel exciting and just fun to use. Um, and then there's other things like I'm going to jump back to Minecraft again. Like that's even evolved from at one point it's just you had the spam click. The fastest clicker is going to be dealing with the most damage and end up winning. Whereas today they've updated to like it's a more about timing based and kind of using your shield, your axe, or your mace, um, and just kind of like positioning and timing around the combat. And so I just think it's fun seeing different games progress in their combat abilities, and that's something I'd love to have more opportunities to do in the future.
Awesome. So like, I've kind of have an idea. Let me know if you think it would work.
Yeah.
Most shooters, they're competitive. You're shooting against another player, but you think there could be a collaborative shooter where instead of players shooting at each other, they're fighting maybe let's say some large enemy horde that's AI controlled. And this, the game could persist over days, and you have to collaborate, and if you don't, then you just get overtaken. It's almost like a MMORPG, but as a
Yeah.
shooting game.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways that sounds a little similar to extraction shooters.
Mm.
The obviously extraction shooters have a very big PvP component as well, but another focus is their PvE side, where it's like you are focusing on like all the enemies around you, trying to stay alive, get in with your loot, survive, and manage to make it out. Um, I think that what you're describing, though, if like you're working with all these players, in some ways you're kind of describing Helldivers.
Mm.
Um, of
Ah,
like you and a couple of buddies like jump into a world, and you have to fight against all these enemies to save the planet or whatever the immediate goal is. And I think that's a very big space because it brings it into like the friendly collaboration side of things. Like
right.
certainly people are competitive, but you also always want to have something fun to do with your friends. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room to grow in like exactly what you're describing, like the collaborative space.
Yeah, Brian and I, we know we're around our 40s, so we kind of grew up in the era of couch-based games, like you and your friend, y'all
Yeah,
are
split
playing
screen.
on the same TV, and now
Yeah.
it's kind of disappeared. Do you ever foresee that them coming back?
Unfortunately, not just because it's so
Yeah,
convenient to be like, I'm at home playing with my buddy in another state, another country.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
there's something really fun about like sitting at the couch with your brother, with your friend, and like
Like we're
you're
talking
both
like
getting the same screen.
Street Fighter
Yeah, yeah.
2,
I mean, like
stuff
I don't
like
think that
that.
stuff's going away. Like Switch does a great job with that, making like just multiplayer games that you
mm,
sit down on the same TV and you're playing with your friends there. So I don't think it's going away, but it probably isn't coming back in the same sense that it
yeah.
was in the past. That's my prediction, at least.
That's unfortunate because like there was
Yeah,
such a richness with you and your friends there. Maybe you have a pizza. Like there's something missing there,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I
compared
mean,
to
this my experience is often like, oh, you're playing games at the sleepover, whatever it is. Like I think
yeah.
back in like middle school, definitely was fun. Everyone's like has their controller sitting around the same TV, because like it's much easier to like feel the energy of everyone around you, and like someone went down, you have to go
Yeah, or
pick them
if
back up.
it makes me think back to Nintendo 64.
Hmm.
You had the 4 inputs, so you can get 4 friends on one game, like GoldenEye or
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking of the Wii version of the of Super Mario Bros. Where you could have multiple people jumping on this. Like you attach the Wii, and everyone's just able to jump in and take control of a different character, and just try to progress through the level together. Definitely do miss that just in person version.
It's great that you mentioned like feeling the energy. I think that's kind of what's missing in a lot of things these days because everybody's like they're alone in their house and they're playing with somebody like thousands of miles away versus in the room. It's like going to a concert. You can listen to the CD as much as you want. It could be super high fidelity, but it never has the energy or
Yeah,
beats the feeling of seeing the artist live.
yeah. Hey, I feel what you mean pretty heavily. I work remotely. It's very convenient, but I miss getting to just be in the office with people. So it's a lot of the I think the world today is much more disconnected in that sense,
Yeah.
and you don't get to feel the real
Like
like
you don't
connection.
you don't have that water cooler moment where you're grabbing a Sprite or you're filling up a bottle of water and you're just shooting the breeze with a coworker. Well, remotely,
Yeah,
you really don't have that. I mean, you could chat on Teams or whatever, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
yeah. I do get the good bit of telling my friends I'm going to the EA Houston office and it's just my apartment. But outside of that,
Like to kind of liven things up, do you ever just go to a coffee shop or a workspace? They got those workspaces you can go to just to, get out of the
mhm.
house and be amongst people.
Not as much as I should. That because I have like a full gaming desktop setup
Mm,
for my work computer. It's not something I can really port around. I can use my personal laptop. That's a bit more portable, but it's just it's a difficult process of trying to remote in to everything from that. So I would love to do that more. It's just like it's a real challenge to like make that work.
I see.
So like do you feel like you're somebody who's kind of balanced, like, okay, outside, once I'm done with my work day, I want to just do something completely different. Let's just say go to the gym versus are you someone who's just like even after work, you're still so focused on your craft, you're spending hours afterward doing that.
It fluctuates, man. Sometimes uh, I actually like to do my workout midday during lunch, but that's a different thing. Um, I definitely will like get off of work to need some time to wind down, eat some food, maybe chat with some friends. But then there are days when I just want to jump back into designing something. Um, I think that is a nice part about being in the game industry. Is like most people in there are there because we love doing it, um,
Yeah.
and so uh, at least for me, I'm not going to say how it is for everyone, but for me, it hasn't like burnt me out on my love for playing and making games. So I still play a ton of games, and I make some of my free time as well.
Like, what are some of the big ideas you see coming down the pipeline? Like some of the concepts that they're
Mhm.
not quite done yet, but due to the increase in technology, now it's possible.
Yeah. So it's a very funny genre, but name. Are you familiar with the friend slop genre?
Mm-mm.
It's there's this new genre of games called I believe it's called friend slop. It's like Lethal Company. I forget the RV game, Peak. Just these games where it's like you're doing something silly with your friends. It's often like a bit of a roguelike scenario where every time you play, it's a little bit different. Um, but the core is just having a funny, goofy time with your friends, and I think that's something that people love. It's
Yeah.
often a lower cost game to develop. Like most of these Lethal Company was built by one person. Um, so like it's something that anyone can go out and do, and especially with the progression in AI, I think it's something that people without much technical ability but with cool ideas could very easily get into, and frankly, like make a lot of money if it goes well. Um, so that it's a genre of games that people want to play. Just hang out with my friend, do something funny, and they'll pay money for that. Like you can't price it $60, but if you sell $5 game, you can get a pretty decent amount of money from that too.
So let me ask you this. We often talk about AI on the show. At Respawn, are you guys using AI at all? Or, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think a lot of companies in the game industry are progressing towards using AI tools in some shape or form. Um, there is a nice aspect where I don't think AI is ever going to be great at the creative side. It's very good at regurgitating, understanding like opinions that are out online, but
Right,
it's never
right.
going to be the next step innovation. Um, and so, job security, love that. But uh,
Yeah,
there is definitely an aspect where I think it can speed up processes. Like I'm a slow writer, but a lot of my job is creating design documents. Um,
right.
I can instead, talk with ChatGPT, say, "Hey, this is an idea I'm working on. Can you help me like come up with a cohesive, structured document?" And it'll just like write out the stuff, ask me questions, and it's never like amazing, but it's something that I can just go in, fine tune, and it just
Like
makes my process
fast.
quicker.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, it
you're
speeds
able
it
to
up.
just jump in and get something done in like 5, 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think I'm hopeful, maybe too optimistically hopeful that there'll be a way to speed up and improve the industry, but something have to be careful because could also be something where people are like, oh, we don't need as many developers now. I very much hope that's not the case.
Yeah, just from my experiences, even seeing it being used at my company, it's good, really good for scaffolding, like getting a general idea of what you want,
Yeah.
but somebody has to come in after it and you know kind of mold it into exactly what it should be. You can't just tell it to
Yeah.
make this and to give you the perfect,
It's
the
like
perfect edition.
it's like you got to bring in the specialist still, the senior developer or whoever the person is, team lead, to take a look at, okay, this is what AI put together. What do we actually want to use from what the AI generated? That's definitely a human decision that probably won't be
Mhm.
going away anytime soon. That kind
Yeah.
of supervisor role when it comes to creation, I think it's humans are going to have a part in that, probably for the foreseeable future. I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we're seeing a lot of growth in just as like a new job is like the person that manages the AI and is able to like prompt it appropriately and like get the results that you need because like as you're saying it speeds things up, but it's only really effective at that if you know how to use it. um,
Right.
so that's something I'm definitely seeing. Just when I'm on LinkedIn, I'll see like, oh, this job wants you to just be the person that manages the AI. Like it's replacing them with like engineering type roles.
It's interesting.
And it's also interesting you mentioned like the creative aspect, because I know a lot of gamers who play the games, they have an aversion to AI generated content. Like, for
Hmm.
example, Crimson Desert, they had a couple of paintings on the wall that they said, "Oh, this is AI generated artwork," and people have made a really big fuss about that.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, I think it's fair because in many ways, games are it's an artwork.
It
People
is.
are there for the story, the visuals, and they want it
Yeah.
to be like you're buying a piece of art. And so when you say a computer made this, that's a lot less appealing. So I absolutely
Yeah.
understand where people are coming from with that.
Yeah. We had an artist on recently, Ray,
Mm,
and she was saying that, no matter what, people are always going to want human art. They're always going to want something that's been drawn or painted by a human and not a robot. And I
yeah,
agree with her. I think, certain things like music, yeah, you can make AI music and some of it, yeah, it's pretty good, but you're not going to get a Pink Floyd out of
yeah,
AI. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like you're not going to get a Beatles out of AI.
yeah. There's just so much more authenticity to it when you have a human behind the wheel. At least that's how I
Just
view it
more
right now.
creative. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think humans are just, innately more creative than AI. Maybe that changes in 20 years from now. I don't know. But for now, I
we'll have
think,
to see. Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to see. I think, for now, a lot of jobs are still safe. But as the automation gets better and cleaner and faster,
Hmm.
more adept at, tackling situations, we may start to see less and less human jobs.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time. I feel lucky in some sense that I graduated a few years ago and not like in these last 2 years because man, it's that whole thing of your parents like go into computer science. It's such a good field. You'll make a lot of money, and then people graduating right now just aren't having that luck,
They're not
unfortunately.
getting hired. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tough job
I
market.
mean, I do a lot of networking for the show and I'm on LinkedIn pretty much 5 days a week. So I'm seeing people get let go or juniors saying, I filled out 800 applications and no one's gotten back to me. What's going on? Or, yeah, like I said, people just being laid off. And then that junior position, that entry level position now goes to Chat
Yeah.
GPT or Claude now takes over that junior role. And then, like we're talking about, you have the supervisor or the team lead come in and say, okay, yeah, we're going to use X, Y, and Z. But the actual, put together of that information, the scaffolding, things like that,
Hmm.
it seems like AI is pretty good at that. So it's not a good time to be entry level in computer science or games
Yeah.
right now.
It's very
I feel
tough.
bad. Yeah, I feel bad for people that are, younger people that are just graduating now, and it's like, am I going to have to go into? Am I going to have to become an electrician, or like, am I going to have to do something totally different to make money versus what I
Hey,
went to college for?
I I I have some friends that like went into the more blue collar positions, and they're doing pretty well. That's the industry
Oh
that's not
yeah,
going away.
it's not going
And
away.
if you could become an expert like in the electrical field or plumbing or anything like that, you can make some good money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, we're at the top of the hour. It's an amazing show. Before we get out of here, did you want to leave our audience with any closing thoughts? And where's the best place for them to find you at?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, sometimes on Twitter or X as well. Just JJ Odell dash dev on LinkedIn, or just look at my name, JJ Odell. Excited to connect with people. Love networking.
If you
Nothing.
don't mind spelling that out for them.
Absolutely. JJ, just two J's. Odell, Odell. Um, Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, that's my hero right there. No. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, no, I don't have any big closing remarks. I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's great getting to chat with you.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. We have to bring you back sometime.
Would love to.
Yeah, man, a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.